Good morning. This is Northern Light for Thursday, July 20th. I'm Monica Sandreski.
And I'm Todd Moe.
Wildfires continue to burn across Quebec and Ontario. Coming up, Champlain Valley reporter Kara Chapman speaks to the Cornell veterinarian about how to protect your pets when wildfire smoke hits the North Country.
Especially when it's heavy enough where we can actually smell the smoke in the air. If you can smell it, your pet is experiencing the effects of that as well.
Concert and fairgoers in New York may soon see cannabis products offered. The State Office of Cannabis Management has approved a plan aimed at helping the state's legally licensed marijuana farmers. And we talk with the collage artist on display at the Adirondack Lake Center for the Arts about ways she's felt shut out because she's a wheelchair user.
It's like disability art or disability this, which is important to identify, but also we're part of the bigger culture.
All of that and more is coming up on Northern Light. Stick with us.
Broadcast of Northern Light here on North Country Public Radio is supported by Gray and Gray and Associates, CPAs, an accounting and financial services firm in Northern New York with offices in Canton, Potsdam, and Spring Hill, Florida. GrayCPAS.com. And AdirondackExplorer.com and AdirondackAlmanac.com presenting daily updated news on public policy, environmental issues, and local communities in the Adirondack Park.
This is Northern Light. I'm Monica Sandreski.
And I'm Todd Moe. North Country members of the UPS Teamsters Union have joined the national push for a new contract. According to WWNY-TV, members of Teamsters Local 687 carried signs and picketed in Potsdam last week. They plan to do the same this morning outside the UPS Center in Watertown. The contract between UPS and Teamsters expires at the end of the month. WWNY-TV reports that talks have stalled over wages and benefits. Union members have said they plan to strike if a new agreement isn't reached.
Smoke from Canadian wildfires made air quality unhealthy for sensitive groups in much of the North Country earlier this week. Today, it's actually pretty good for much of the region. Humans, especially those with pre-existing conditions, can get sick from exposure, though. Dr. Ali Cohen, a veterinarian with Cornell University, says our pets can experience similar risks.
Especially when it's heavy enough where we can actually smell the smoke in the air. If you can smell it, your pet is experiencing the effects of that as well.
Cohen told Champlain Valley reporter Kara Chapman that symptoms to watch out for in your pets include red, watery eyes, coughing, or gagging.
The times where I would be more concerned is if you actually start to see a fast respiratory rate. That would be indications that they're being affected by the poor air quality.
Is that the point that you would seek veterinary care when you're noticing that kind of rapid respiratory breathing? Are there other signs to look out for?
You know your pet best. If you know that they have a pre-existing condition, I would first and foremost always speak with your vet, of course. But a lot of the times, if you're outside and you're seeing it, I would first just go inside, see if they're at rest, does that go away? And if that respiratory rate is staying elevated, even once you're inside, then sure, I would seek advice from your veterinarian at that point.
Aside from, going inside, is there anything to do to protect your pets? Like for us humans, they recommend, masking up as well, depending on how bad the air quality is. So what should pet owners be doing to protect their animals from the smoke?
So unfortunately, we can't have our pets be wearing masks while they're outside. And so a lot of this is going to revolve just strictly around prevention. And so the most you can stay inside when we're having these alerts, the better off they're going to be. Of course, for our dogs and some cats that have access to outdoors, they go out and that's where they do their potty breaks. And so that's still fine to do. I would just really limit that time. If you're normally one, you go and take them on this 2-mile walk every day, twice a day. Maybe let's just rein that in during the high alert times and just do bathroom breaks only. In the house, if you have access to, air purifiers, that's ideal because you can definitely still get the smoke that's trailing into the house. Keeping the windows shut best you can if you've got air purifiers. If not, even just fans to kind of move the air around indoors.
I actually have a fairly young dog myself right now, and she kind of goes a little nuts. Yeah, when she doesn't go outside. So what do you recommend people do indoors to either, exercise, entertain, stimulate their pets?
Increasing that indoor enrichment. So any enrichment activities don't have to be fancy. For me, that could be any long-lasting treats. Whether that's the chew bones that are going to last a little bit longer, that are safe for their teeth, or a frozen stuffed Kong. Those are those kind of silicone rubber toys, any kind of puzzle feeders. You don't have to go out and buy anything special. You can always make your own kind of enrichment toys just with cardboard box, crumpled up newspaper, as long as they're not going to eat it or do anything inappropriate. Just anything to kind of keep their brain active and occupied.
The North Country is a very rural area, so there's a lot of people who have chickens, horses, cows, and other livestock, and they spend most of their lives just outdoors or in open air structures. So is there anything that can be done to protect them as well?
Birds can be really susceptible to any type of toxin that is in the air. And so I would say even if for their chickens, if they have any sort of coop that they can keep them in, that would probably be great. But in a lot of those, you have to be careful because if they're in it too long, you're dealing with their own toxins that they're producing from their ammonia and whatnot. As far as with cows and horses, horses can sometimes be prone to asthma in general, just from their own feed and the hay and the dust that's produced from that. And so I would just maybe be extra cautious with wetting down their hay that they're being fed, so it's not producing even more dust from that. Having plenty of fresh water available at all times. And some people with bigger operations, if they have an indoor barn for their horses to stay in, that might be better. If they had any planned transports coming up or anything like that, I would just postpone any of that, since most of our cows, horses, or other large animals will get really stressed during times of transport, and that can sometimes trigger a pneumonia and things like that. So anything to minimize their stress so that their lung health is at least not going to be compromised anymore.
That was Dr. Ellie Cohen, a veterinarian at Cornell University, speaking with NCPR's Kara Chapman.
You're listening to Northern Light here on North Country Public Radio. It's 8 minutes past 8. Good morning. I'm Todd Moe.
And I'm Monica Sandreski. Stick around. The artist on display in Blue Mountain Lake wants her collages to change your perspective of physical disabilities. A conversation with Cambridge-based artist Emily Titroni coming up.
Music by the group Bee Children, based here in Canton, and you can listen to more of their music on our website. Check out the underscore page at ncpr.org/_. And hey, while you're there, make a gift. We're your summer station, keeping you informed of what's happening around the region and the world while you're away from home. So support North Country Public Radio now by making a donation at ncpr.org/give. Thanks. Northern Light is supported by Rickard Environmental Associates in Keene, New York, committed to keeping Adirondack waters clean by aiding rural municipal wastewater treatment facilities with maintaining water quality compliance. Learn more at rickardsenvironmental.com.
North Country Congresswoman Elise Stefanik continues to far outraise her opponents in this election cycle. According to the Watertown Daily Times, she brought in $1.2 million last quarter, which ran from April through June. Jill Lochner of Saratoga County raised $2,700 over the same time frame. She hopes to run against Stefanik in the Republican primary. Stephen Holden Sr. is a Democrat who ran unsuccessfully against Congresswoman Claudia Tenney to represent New York's 24th district last year. The Times reports that he's declared his candidacy for NY21, but has failed to file any financial disclosures this election cycle. Tenney is currently the only candidate registered with the Federal Elections Commission for NY24. She raised about $230,000 last quarter.
A nonprofit in Watertown now offers free fentanyl test strips. The Northern Regional Center for Independent Living says the test strips are available in Jefferson, Lewis, and St. Lawrence counties. The organization wants to make them more accessible due to the increase of fentanyl in the region. According to the National Institutes of Health, fentanyl is a synthetic opioid that's 50 to 100 times more potent than morphine. We have more information about how to get the test strips on our website, ncpr.org.
The State Office of Cannabis Management on Wednesday approved a measure to allow cannabis to be sold at fairs, festivals, concerts, and other related events. From Albany, Karen DeWitt has the details.
The move could have helped the 200 or so farmers who have obtained growing licenses from the state's Office of Cannabis Management, which is overseeing the fledgling legal cannabis industry in New York. The state has approved over 150 retail licenses since the adult use of recreational cannabis was legalized over 2 years ago. But due to delays and funding issues, fewer than 24 stores have opened so far in the entire state. That's left the cannabis growers stranded with next to no legal outlets to sell their crops. At a May town hall meeting that the office held with the growers, Director of Policy John Kagia laid out a proposal to let them set up booths at summer farmers markets where adults over the age of 21 could buy their products. He says the farmers could gain access to the markets through one of the state's licensed retailers.
We're thinking very expansively about the types of places this can be done. As long as we can get municipal approval to host these events, we're going to be pretty liberal in trying to have these be events that can both be set up as independent type farmers markets. So if you have a farm, if you have a location that you want to set up an event, we'll support that. But also if you want to piggyback on an event that already exists, a concert, a festival, some other sort of agricultural event, and there's a way to get our cannabis folks in there, we would love for that to happen.
Kagia told the growers that he had authorization at a high level to discuss the plans with them.
We hope that the farmers markets will present an opportunity to finally unlock this product and help New Yorkers see the excellent quality that you guys have grown.
Many growers welcome the idea. At the time of the meeting, officials said they expected the first sales to begin within a few weeks. But those weeks have passed, as well as the July 4th holiday weekend, and the plans have not advanced. An OCM spokesman in a statement took a much more neutral stance on the proposal, while spokesman Aaron Gittleman says they are always open to considering opportunities to strengthen the state's cannabis industry. He also says no final decisions have been made with respect to the farmers' markets. Potential barriers to the farmers market model include some local governments that have opposed retail cannabis shops and the fact that the drug is still illegal under federal law and the markets could jeopardize federal funding. In Albany, I'm Karen DeWitt.
You're listening to Northern Light here on North Country Public Radio. I'm Todd Moe.
And I'm Monica Sandreski. Coming up in just a minute, a conversation with Emily Tatroni, the artist currently on display at the Adirondack Lake Center for the Arts. Then stick around after the show for Bird Note coming up at 8:42. But first, Todd has a look at the weather for us.
Airnow.gov, which is a website that tracks air quality in our region, has given us a rating of good for today. The forecast calls for a rating this afternoon of 37, which is in the good zone for all of the North Country. The Weather Service says partly to mostly sunny and warm today, highs in the low 80s and light winds, winds light and variable. Partly cloudy tonight with a low in the low 60s, and then a good chance of showers tomorrow, about an 80% chance of rain tomorrow, highs mid-70s. We have sunshine and 65 degrees in Canton right now.
Emily Detroni is trying to shift your perspective about physical disabilities. She's a collage artist based in Cambridge, New York, and her work is on display now at the Adirondack Lake Center for the Arts. She says the limitations she deals with come from outside of herself. A lot of barriers are from the larger culture. People she encounters look at at disability through a medical lens, she says, like they're thinking of her as a set of physical challenges. She's trying to bridge this gap with her art to visually put people with disabilities right in the center of humor and pop culture. She makes bright, joyful, and complicated collages using images cut from pop magazines. And in almost every one of her pieces, the central figure or figures are seated. I caught up with Tetroni recently, and she started off by describing one of her pieces, a joyful collage called Rocking Chair, with a central figure with a huge smile on her face, sitting on a rocking horse.
It's a small square piece with Sarah Jessica Parker sitting on a rocking chair, and then the chair is turned into a wheelchair because I use the base of electric wheelchairs a lot. It's just about kind of poking fun at and celebrating disability and how mobility devices are fun and important for us to access stuff and not negative in any way. And the background is like orange paper, which I tear up.
And it looks like you layer it too. Your eye for balance is so sharp.
Thank you.
Why do you think collage makes sense for the message that you're trying to share with your work?
I really enjoy collage and how you're taking a bunch of different things from different sources and deconstructing them and putting them out together to make a new whole, which I think is a good reference to the disability community, just kind of improvising, figuring out how things work, and recreation.
Would you be able to sort of like walk me through your creative process? Like when you're thinking of a new collage that you're going to put together, can you walk me through how you're approaching that?
Yeah. A lot of times I get inspired by an image. I'll look through magazines, such as like sometimes furniture magazines, and I'll find like a chair that I like, and then I'll look through other magazines and find a person. A lot of times I'm collecting a bunch of images at a time, but I'm also thinking this goes with this, and once I make a good connection, then I go further with one piece, cut everything out, and a lot of times the background I find last, or I think of that process at the end, because I'm more focused on the subject. And lately, I've been collecting books about disabilities from like the 60s to now, like children's books, medical books, and I've been referencing those images, which I think is going to add more, another layer to the work, and I'm excited about that.
For gallery goers to the Adirondack Lake Center for the Arts, what do you hope they take away from your work? What do you hope they experience when they're there?
I hope they kind of have fun and laugh at with the humor and kind of expand their idea of disability and how the disability community has pride in who we are, and maybe understanding that there's a celebration of who we are and not pity. I don't think pity is a big part in the work. It's the month of July is Disability Pride Month, and this year is the 33rd anniversary of the ADA. So just thinking about that and how far we've come for our rights and access.
Can you talk a bit more about pity?
Even like when I was younger, there's a lot of pity, and it's not like on purpose, I don't think. It's more sympathy and feeling bad for the person and thoughts like, oh, I wouldn't want to be like that. And I think we need more empathy instead of pity, and understanding that people aren't bad. I mean, obviously there's struggles, but we're adapting to the environment and to what we have. If society was more understanding of that, there'd be a lot less barriers and there'd be a lot less struggle. A lot of it does have to do with attitude towards disability. If that was more accepted, that would be a lot easier to navigate the world. And we're a part of the art, culture, and the humor. I feel like people with disabilities definitely have a connection with humor, but we have a connection with all spaces. And it's important to, like, we've always been part of the culture and always access these spaces when maybe it hasn't been seen or tried to access these spaces. And the spaces that we inhabit aren't marginalized people. Sometimes I think it's like disability art or disability this. But it's also, which is important to identify, but also we're part of the bigger culture.
That was collage artist Emily Titroni, based in Cambridge. Her work is on display now in the exhibit Disability Pride at the Adirondack Lake Center for the Arts. There is a reception for her work coming up Saturday afternoon from 2 to 4.
Kingdom, that's all right. That's all right. That's all right. That's all right. It'll be all right. My soul's gonna sit up in the kingdom. That's all to heaven, sing and shout. Ain't nobody there to put me out. Talk to the Father, chat with the Son, tell them all about the world that I came from. Since my soul's gonna sit up in the kingdom, that's alright. That's alright. That's alright. That's alright. It'll be alright. My soul's gonna sit up in the kingdom. That's alright. That's alright. That's alright. That's alright. It'll be alright. My soul's gonna sit up in the kingdom. That's alright. Since my soul's gonna sit up in the kingdom, that's alright.
Group called Ranky Tanky. That's all right. And Ranky Tanky, two-time Grammy winners, will be performing at the Norwood Village Green Concert Series coming up Sunday, August 13th. Sunday, August 13th. That's Ranky Tanky, the Norwood Village Green Concert Series on Sunday, August 13th. Time now coming up on 8:27, and you're listening to Northern Light here on North Country Public Radio. I'm Todd Moe.
And I'm Monica Sandreski. So many events going on throughout the region. I'm thinking now of the artists currently on display at the Adirondack Artists Guild Gallery in Saranac Lake. Sandra Hildreth is the featured artist this month with her exhibit Transitions. This is a collection of paintings that invite the viewer to examine them closely. They're paired in groups of 3 and feature a lot of landscapes. She says from plein air paintings of wilderness locations to large format studio paintings, Sandra Hildreth loves to paint the Adirondacks. And you can see those currently on display at the Adirondack Artists Guild Gallery in Saranac Lake through the end of the month.
And this is the third Thursday, so the Thursday Art Walk is in Saranac Lake, starting at 5, from 5 to 7:30. It's all free. You can pick up the Art Walk map at participating arts venues and start strolling the streets. There'll be artists, visual performance artists, music throughout downtown. And this is in Saranac Lake. It's the Art Walk, and it starts from 5 to 7:30 in Saranac Lake. Always a lot of fun.
And don't forget to check out what's cooking at the Adirondack Folk School in Lake Luzerne. They've always got something going on. Todd, I know that you've done some of their classes in the past, and you can make cross-country skis. They're always looking at what are these traditions and crafts from the Adirondacks. Right now, there's a session going on forging a chef's knife with a top forger, Matthew Parkinson, and also making a shaker serving tray with Eric Pintar. You can find out more about these techniques and what they've got going on. Classes going on all the time to learn more at the AdirondackFolkschool.org. They're in Lake Luzerne. You can find out more there.
That's it for Northern Light for this Thursday, July 20th. And hey, summer listeners, we're talking to you. You're here for the summer, right? You're listening to North Country Public Radio, right? And Northern Light, we depend on donations from friends like you. Even if we were here just for a couple of weeks or a couple of months, keep this station healthy and strong by making a gift right now. Summer listeners, we need to hear from you. Take home an NCPR bald cap or T-shirt or some Momentum coffee. Make a gift right now, ncpr.org/give. Thanks.
That's it for the show. Morning Edition continues in just a minute. Then join us at lunchtime today for a conversation on the movie and TV industry. Some say it's collapsing. Others argue it's adapting to suit the new reality of the streaming area. We'll hear from Bloomberg reporter Lucas Shaw on what viewers can expect moving forward, especially now that the writers and actors are on strike. That conversation between noon and 1 here on NCPR. I'm Monica Sandreski.
And I'm Todd Moe. Be well.